Kevin Durant is one of the most interesting and controversial players in NBA history when it comes to legacy. For those of you new to basketball, and even if you're not, let me give you a quick breakdown of Kevin Durant as a player first. Durant is nearly 7 feet tall, so imagine a player as tall as Shaquille O'Neal with the handle of a point guard. Deadly combination already, right? But then you add in the shooting ability of Steph Curry, and that's Kevin Durant. Not just that, but Kevin Durant is arguably the greatest scorer the game has ever seen. He shoots the ball historically well from all three levels. He's had 5 seasons shooting 40% or more from three and shoots nearly 45% from the mid-range for his entire career. He led the league in scoring 4 times, with 3 of those seasons being consecutive. His height makes him virtually unguardable for multiple reasons. Firstly, everyone is too small for him. He will shoot over anybody, and the players who are tall enough to guard him are going to be power forwards and centres who will be too sluggish and slow to keep up with him. But even with the best defenders at those positions trying their hardest, Durant's footwork and handle is impeccable. Just look at how he makes light work of Giannis here. This is the brilliance of Kevin Durant. Like I said, he's arguably the greatest scorer of all time, but in my opinion, he's definitely the most efficient scorer ever. Now on paper, that could be seen as the greatest skill set ever. So what's my issue? Well, the issue started in 2016. Before then, Durant had spent his entire career in OKC. During that time, he led the league in scoring 4 times, won an MVP and made the NBA Finals once. Also, can we appreciate the fact that he led the league in scoring in only his 3rd year in the league? A 21-year-old KD averaged more points than LeBron, Kobe and Wade. And these players weren't old, these guys were still in their primes. So KD accomplishes all this along with All-Star appearances and many more things. So what happened in 2016? Well, in the playoffs that year, KD and OKC made it to the Western Conference Final, where they faced the Golden State Warriors, led by Steph Curry. OKC were winning in this series. In fact, they were up 3 games to 1. All they had to do was win 1 more game and they were through to the NBA Finals. This would be the 2nd of KD's career. But the Warriors had other plans. You see, this Warriors team was good, like really good. In fact, that season they won 73 games and only lost 9. That is the best record in NBA history. Their best player, Steph Curry, was also the MVP that season. With the help of his Splash Brother teammate Klay Thompson and key players in Draymond Green and Iguodala, Curry would lead the Warriors back from 3-1 down and come back to beat KD and OKC, an incredible feat completed by an incredible team. And so after this devastating loss, what does Kevin Durant do? Does he work tirelessly in the offseason and come back better than ever to win a championship? No. He joins a team that he just lost to, which also happens to be the greatest team of all time. So now Kevin Durant has formed a super team, as Curry was the best point guard in the league, Klay Thompson was one of the best shooting guards in the league, Draymond Green was one of the best defenders in the league, and now they add Kevin Durant, a guy who's just come off a season averaging nearly 30. This team was incredible before, but now you add one of the greatest players of all time in the mix and you have an unbeatable dynasty. So you can understand why a lot of NBA fans didn't like this move very much. And this is where my issue starts. But let's look at his time with the Warriors. In his 3 seasons with the team, KD would go to 3 NBA Finals, winning back-to-back championships in 2017 and 18, but would only play a matter of minutes in the 2019 Finals as he tore his Achilles. So KD wins 2 championships and 2 Finals MVPs. That's great. On paper, he's now a champion. But the question is, did he really win his rings? He joined one of the greatest teams in NBA history, and that was before he even got there. So many fans believe he didn't truly earn them. But there is a counter-argument. KD still had to win those games. He still had to beat the teams in the playoffs to get there. Granted, it's a hell of a lot easier with Steph Curry as your teammate, but nevertheless, he still had to beat those teams to get there. Now let me break down the basic argument as to why KD actually won his rings. If you take KD off that team, would the Warriors have won the championship? Some people use 2019 as an example of this, as they didn't have KD and lost to the Raptors. But you have to remember that Klay Thompson was injured. In fact, a lot of players were injured for that finals. So a lot of people may say no, and a lot of people may say yes. But that's kind of my point. Even without KD, that Warriors team were a title contender and a historically great team. They proved it before KD arrived, as they made 2 finals appearances and won 1 championship. And this is where my problem really lies with KD and his legacy. If you look at all the greats in NBA history, they all had great teammates to help them win championships. But nobody has had quite the team that KD had. The Warriors could have won a title without him, and they did, but they could have won multiple without him. But then when you add him, it basically becomes a lock. Now let me bring up a point you might never have thought about before. KD's move to Golden State impacted 3 players' legacy immediately, and you could argue it impacted 5 or even 6 players' legacy in total. The 3 players immediately affected are KD, obviously, but the other 2 are Steph Curry and LeBron James. Because KD joined Steph, they were able to win 2 championships together, and this is no knock on Steph at all. I'm just throwing out a scenario. If KD didn't join the Warriors, would Curry still have 3 rings? Think about it. If Curry didn't have KD, would they have made it out of the West? And then after that, would they have beaten LeBron? This is my other point. Because KD made a super team, LeBron, in my eyes anyways, gets a pass for his 2017 and 2018 finals losses. So that's an immediate impact. He boosted Steph's legacy as his 2 championships with KD count, but KD has diminished his own legacy simultaneously. And then on top of that, he's hurt LeBron's legacy, or at least hindered it, by making it basically impossible to win in those 2 years. Now let me mention the other players' legacy he's impacted. I think he's impacted James Harden's, Russell Westbrook's, and Chris Paul's legacies. If KD stayed in OKC, the West would have been great. There's a balance. You have Steph, Clay, and Draymond as a big 3 in Golden State. You have Harden and Chris Paul as an amazing duo in Houston, and you have KD and Westbrook as another great duo in OKC. Then nobody's legacy would have been tainted. In fact, the opposite would have happened. Because all these teams were so good, the competition would have been tougher, and so this gives any ring that any player would have won even more value. Every team I mentioned could have beat each other, and then the knock-on effect of that is that LeBron's legacy would be completely different. If LeBron made those finals, it wouldn't be impossible to win, so either way, if LeBron lost or won those finals, nobody can make an excuse for each side. If he won, he beat a good team. If he lost, he lost. That's when the finals record argument can be effective, as those teams are beatable, and they should be beatable if LeBron is the quote-unquote GOAT. But enough about LeBron, let's talk about these other players. Harden and Chris Paul might possibly have a ring each now. KD and Westbrook could have a ring as well. In fact, all 3 of these teams, OKC, Houston, and Golden State, could have won the finals each year up until now, and that would boost everyone's legacy, as obviously they can say they're champions, but when we're looking back in NBA history, people will see that these teams were actually great. That Houston team was amazing, but because they came up against a juggernaut of a Warriors team, nobody will really appreciate how good they really were. Now let me give my opinion as to why I can't view Durant's legacy in the same light as the other NBA greats. Firstly, I've already explained why his 2 championships aren't as meaningful as others because of the way that he did it, and I'm afraid to say that hasn't changed. He left Golden State in the 2019 offseason and joined the Nets. He paired with Kyrie and is playing his first season after recovering from an Achilles injury. If KD won a championship with only Kyrie, that's well deserved and not just creating a super team. But with the James Harden trade, Durant hasn't joined a super team. This time, he's made one. He has James Harden, who is an MVP candidate and the best shooting guard in the league. But he also has Kyrie Irving, who again is arguably in the MVP conversation and is a top 3 point guard in the league too. Add that to Kevin Durant and you have the greatest offensive trio the game has ever seen. Harden was almost able to win a championship in Houston. If he didn't come up against a super team Warriors, he would have made the NBA Finals, I believe. And so when you pair that type of player alongside KD and Kyrie, how the hell do you not say that they aren't the favourites to win a title? I don't care what you say. No other team in NBA history has ever had that type of star-studded trio. And when I say it like that, now you can understand why I can't put KD's 2, maybe 3 rings if he wins one this year, in the same boat as Larry Bird's 3. So overall, what's my point? My point is, KD is so great that it's infuriating. He is so great and we will never truly appreciate how good he really is because of the moves he makes in his career. I'll never be able to look at Kevin Durant's championships and view them in the same way I view Kobe's, Jordan's or LeBron's. It's just not the same. His championships can and never will hold as much weight as they should, and it's a shame. His championships will always have that stain in my eyes. I think overall, KD's move to Golden State did a lot more damage than people think. It hasn't really helped KD's legacy much as people discredit his rings. But not only that, you've got to think about the ripple effect that I explained earlier about the players like LeBron, Harden and Chris Paul. I think the way that people view KD would be a whole lot different if he stayed in OKC, for 2 reasons. First off, if he won a ring there, it would be worth a hell of a lot more than the 2 he has right now. But secondly, if he didn't win a ring there, then LeBron could have more rings, so this would make the GOAT debate even closer. But that's just what I think. Whatever you think, please let me know in the comments below. I love reading and replying to all the comments. Like I said though, Kevin Durant is a phenomenal talent and one of the best to ever lace them up. There's no doubt about it, but it's his legacy to me that will always be stained by the fashion that he won his championships. But that's all for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and if you did, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. But that's all from me, and I'll see you in the next one.